Hour 2 Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie McLennan, Dave Naylor later in the hour on the NFL playoffs, and his take on Lamar Jackson being announced as the All-Pro first-team offense quarterback position, which would indicate he likely wins the MVP for a third time, and Josh Allen will not. Get the Nail Guns take on that later on, and Darren Pang coming up on a Leaf loss in Carolina, Leafs Vancouver tonight. Vancouver's in Carolina playing the Hurricanes tonight. And this story down in Boston where the Bruins have lost 6 in a row. And radio host down there reporting that David Pastrnak's an issue in the room. And he's demanded or asked not to play with Brad Marchand. And Marchand jumping in front of the media today and getting right on it. And I do think you got to connect it to the Vancouver circus. They're attacking of the report, right? And the Bruins, it felt like Marchand probably sat there with the PR team and was like, how should we attack this? Like, what's the plan here? Because if this festers and gets carried away, you don't want a Pettersson versus Miller situation on your hands, because that is a gong show and people will be very attracted to that kind of stuff.
Not to mention, if it's not true, I think you're just mad about it. Like, that's watching Brad Marchand and Pastrnak, like they didn't look like they were coached up very much. Like,
no, and they wanted that Boston Bruins Twitter account
to
come out with those comments, because they were like, that's what teams have to do if some nonsense in their minds comes out. They're like, we have to defend ourselves with our own Twitter account. That's the only way we can do it.
I kind of thought that was good leadership. Like, Marchand seems like a pretty straight shooter. He's like, hey, I didn't like it. This is why we're talking about it. Like, in Vancouver, it's different. It's just a different, Quinn Hughes, I remember watching him, and he's not a very vocal guy. Marchand is a vocal guy. He jokes with the media. He's a pretty straight shooter. He's had his problems before. Let's not hide from that. But I took it like Marchand was getting out in front of it before, the fire is there, before it spread. But he also wanted his opinion on it. You are allowed to weigh in on it too.
Of course, it's about you.
That's the thing where I kind of like you just went directly at it. Same thing with Pastrnak. I think their PR people was like, both of you need to speak to this because they're talking about you.
Yeah. Now I will say the line, like, we both laughed about it. I'm not sure I believe that. That because again, you've lost 6 in a row. Really, you better. I find it hard to believe they find anything funny right now.
I'll give you a prime example, and this is early in my career here with TSN. I remember there were a few donkeys on Twitter that would message, and I remember talking about Dion. Dion was a lightning rod here in Toronto, and there was a story. Do you remember when Iginla and Dion fought? That was. Remember Iggy and Dion fought in Toronto. They dropped the gloves.
Okay. Yes.
And people were like, oh, they hated each other. I was like, no, they were at dinner the night before the game. Because you know who was there? I was there with them. And you know what? Sometimes emotions happen. And there was an idiot on Twitter who was like I think one of those pension plan puppet whatever people or whatever. And that guy was making comments. And he was making comments. And I was like, I'm sorry. You don't know. And I asked him to prove it. And he goes, I don't need to Google it to prove it. And I said, well, I happen to be in the room, you dope.
Well, yeah.
That's the problem. So I guess my problem is the misinformation. Like, this guy's telling me to Google that Iginla and Dion hated each other when I was in the room and saw. And they never fought or anything like that outside.
On another side of it, Jamie, there's moles. Like, there are some people inside locker rooms that they kind of like getting out that information. Like, you hear stories of guys say, oh, yeah, that guy used to he'd tell me everything.
Yeah.
Well, they're out there, man. There's a mole everywhere, man.
And that's the reality. Again, I don't know this radio host. I don't know his history in terms of what he knows or what he doesn't or who he's connected to. But if, let's say, you're reporting on things and you hit 9 out of 10, that 10th one's not a good look for you, clearly, and especially if it's very explosive and is going to cause, a you-know-what storm. But if you're right on the other 9, that doesn't change that you were right on the other 9. And what I mean by that is you may have a source that has been feeding you accurate information for a long time.
He just blew this one.
He got wrong. Well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Again, I don't know what actually is going on in the room.
I know, but if the guy gave him 9 out of 10, Hayes, he would be fully confident that there's
Of
no
course.
way that he would botch this and come up with
I just
garbage information, man.
Yeah.
I
Let's
think
see
what
where
happened-
the Bruins take it from here, I guess.
I think he insinuated something, and that's where they lost me. Is I 100% agree that I think they argued, and I do believe that Marchand had called him out, and they probably called each other out, that type of stuff. I just where they lose me, it's like he demanded to be off his line, and
Right.
they hate each other, and all that type of stuff. That to me, that's where it went too far.
That
And
seems
maybe
extreme. That
that's
you'd
where it
allow, like,
Yeah.
I don't like that guy personally, or my emotions are involved, so I'm not playing with him. That seems very far-fetched. And here's another reality of that scenario, and you guys can speak to this in the room. How many coaches would listen to that and say, "Oh, okay"? They look at you and say, "Are you nuts? Like, you got a personal problem? Get the hell out of my room. I'll play you with whoever I'm going to play you with."
Right.
You know, and you better step up because you're being paid $11 million a year and you're a leader on this team. But, again, it puts eyes on the Bruins. And this is what's amazing about this season and the soap opera that is 24-25 is it's Boston, New York, and Vancouver. Like, those are massive hockey markets.
Big markets, yeah.
Massive hockey markets. This isn't, I'm not going to name 3 teams that are on my list of nobody cares what people think in those particular places. But these are bombshells where all hell's breaking loose. And, the 3 of them, actually, Vancouver probably puts their hand up and goes, listen, we've dealt with some injuries, and we're still technically in the playoffs or real close to it. And so are the Bruins. It's the Rangers that just continue to lose, and they're way at the bottom of the East, and they're chasing it. But now Boston's put their hands up, and they're willing to get involved here, I guess, to an extent, in terms of the soap opera that is the hockey season this year. And a guy that's always in the rinks and always covering it joins us now. You see him on the NHL on TNT and joins us from time to time. We love having him on. Here he is, Darren Pang, joining us here on the Maple Title Hotline. What do you make of the soap opera today, Panger?
Well, I like it. Are they giving pasta away? I'll take them.
Good question. Good question.
I think during the course of time, how many times have we been in locker rooms where somebody suggests there's an issue here or there? For every time I was on that bench and listen to Denny Savard and Steve Larmer go at it on that bench, oh my goodness, you would think these guys were getting divorced and never want to play again. And then they hop onto the ice and do magic together and they get back on the bench and they start cursing each other out again. And Larms was the best. He never missed a beat, chewing about 900 wads of gum and just kind of, all right, Savvy. You go there, I go there. Let's go get it done. But, this kind of thing is during the course of a year. As we well know, it's already difficult every day. It takes a lot of energy to get to the rink every day, to answer whatever you have to answer, especially when you're not playing well. And then for that, and then to have to answer these questions, well, that takes on a little bit more of energy. As far as I'm concerned, anyway, that's kind of useless energy for me. But I'm glad they squashed it right away. And I'm sure there are times where pasta is a pain in the neck. And I'm sure there are times where Marchand's a pain in the neck. And I mean, that's what gets you through those times. That's what.
Where do they go
brings you
from
together
here,
half
though,
the time.
Panger? Where do they go from here, Panger?
Well, I don't know where they go. Honestly, where they are right now, how they're playing right now, is really difficult to determine whether or not they're a team to be. You're right. Where are they? What's their identity?
They're no man's land.
Yeah,
man.
they're
They
wild card
are.
team, barely.
Yeah, those are the facts, and luckily they put some points on the board when Joe Sacco took over from Jim Montgomery. But it's quite clear it's not a Jim Montgomery issue. It's not a Joe Sacco issue. This is an issue of what are they and what is their identity for me. So that's the hardest thing now. We go around the league. I'm in Detroit tonight. They're on fire in their last 6 under Todd McClellan. The power play's clicking. They've got at least a power play goal in 6 straight. Is it for Detroit? Is this going to continue on like this at this level? A lot of the coaches that have been brought in have flattened out a little bit. But I think for let's say Detroit as an example. Detroit's got these young, great studs. I talked to Trent Yanni today, runs the D's. Like, man, this Mo Sider and Edvinson, and like, there's something here. I'm just using this as an example as compared to Boston, where their players are older players. They've gone through, some disappointments of Game 7 losses. They've gone through some highs of Game 7 win against Toronto last year, but lately it's been more lows. So, how do you rally that out without making too many personnel changes? That is the question, and that's the hard one, and that's obviously the the Don Sweeney, that's who's got,
got
that's the guy that runs the ship. I mean,
Yep.
and it's not as easy to do as we're talking about, I'm sure.
Well, it's difficult to really control the market also when you're not playing well. What do you expect? And I'll give credit to Brad Marchand. He was obviously agitated with this report. He came out, he shot it down immediately, said it's bogus. But even while he was kind of weaving through all that, he admitted, he's like, we're not playing well. We're
almost like he wasn't surprised.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the common denominator here, right? Vancouver, the Rangers, Boston, they're just not playing that well.
The questions wouldn't even be asked. No one's going to bring it up if they're on a 7-2-1 run and they're running like the Washington Capitals. Hear anything from Washington Capitals?
Nothing.
Yeah,
it's the greatest room in the world.
Nothing, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's the greatest room. They're playing for one another, and even when at the beginning of the year when OV was trying to find his game, then he got some traction, then he was out. They didn't miss a beat. They're just like, just keep churning it out, and one comes in, one goes out. Let's keep her going. I love watching them play, and I love the spirit that they have, and I give their coaches a lot of credit, including our old buddy Kirk Muller. And it seems like everywhere that guy goes, a good spirit follows that guy, isn't it? He's just one of those guys. He just has a goodness about him, and I think that's what's about our game. It's funny you say that. Todd McCullough, what did he say his first game? Just play F in hockey? Isn't that what he said? He just looked at it like, just play hockey. I mean, my goodness, just think the game a little bit and just play the game of hockey. And I think that's the kind of spirit you need to have there, and not go through a little paralysis when you're playing the game of hockey.
So, Panger, before we get on to the rest of the league, out of those three teams that we just kind of termed tire fire, the Rangers, Boston, and Vancouver, with much, how noisy it is there, could you pick one team that you could see getting it turned around and maybe doing some damage?
Well, I really lean towards Tocchet. I think he did a marvelous job last year of putting a lot of personalities that are different and maybe sometimes difficult and getting them to buy in. Did that take that much energy last year to do it that they can't go through that again? I think they can. So of those teams, I'm going to say that Vancouver would be the one team for me that can light it up and continue to go. And one of the main reasons is because of that head coach.
They're in Carolina tonight, then in Toronto tomorrow. We're chatting with
Tough
Darren
schedule.
Pang.
Woo!
Tough sked. And the Leafs, they didn't play well last night, and their best players, Matthews and Marner, were both -6 in the game, which you just never see in the NHL. And I'm curious if you could put yourself in that room where the Leafs have been playing well. They've won a lot of games. They've got a 4-point buffer in their division. They feel really good about themselves, and they should. But you kind of throw away a game last night. They're up 2-0 quick, and then Carolina took over, and their best players really didn't perform well. Now Vancouver's got to play tonight, then travel into town. What would you expect out of the Leafs, especially their best players tomorrow night?
Oh, I would expect them to be the best players. I mean, this is an aberration to me. This isn't. Listen, O-Dog, were you ever -6?
I can honestly say, Panger, no.
I
had some rough nights, man. Never 6.
You know what I mean? And if you were, that next game got your attention, didn't it?
Sure.
Come on. Like these guys are. Yeah. I mean, listen, Nylander could have had. How many could he have had? What do you have? 3 breakaways in a row?
That's right.
At the very least, Panger, you're not letting your D-man get to the net to score. I'll tell you that.
Well, yes, that's right. And so I think the attention to detail. It won't be sloughed off. This is this NHL is quite an optional league right now, and I understand that with all the the scheduling and the way that the players kind of deal with things now and kind of go into more video sessions than not. But this isn't one that Craig Berube is just going to say, okay, well, we'll just get ready for the next game. I think that's where you're going to see the attention to detail, the intensity, and a 2-1 hockey game. How about this? I'm going to put it on the board. It's going to be a 2-1 hockey game. How do you like that?
All right.
And it's going to be shrunk, and it's going to be tight, and it's going to be 5-man units, and it's going to push the opposition to the outside. Goaltender's got to make some better saves. Joseph Wall wasn't very good. Bottom line. Too many squeakers, so that's what I would think. I think it's not going to be a 7-6 game. If it's a 7-6 game, I'm going to grow my hair.
Well, I would love to see that, and I want it to be 7-6 tomorrow night just for that alone, Panger. But you also have two coaches that know each other very well. Like, would that be the toughest coaching battle in NHL history, Berube,
Oh,
Tocchet.
yeah.
Like, it's got to be at the close to the top of the list. Like, both of them were as tough
and they
as
are
it gets.
such good friends. You know, I that's what I love about the coaches around the league. I mean, they get together. They talk a lot. I like to see them go out and just have a half a dozen bourbons and just, you know, get going and go to a couple of local pubs and feel it the next morning, coach with a little guilt, and then bang, let's go. You know, but you know what they do? They both galvanize their group. They're both they're simple speakers. They're to the point, and they get your attention. So as frustrating it's been for Talk more so than with Chief. I mean, this has been challenging for Talk. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he's on the last year of his deal. If I'm not mistaken,
I
don't believe that.
But
there's an option. So I mean, you know, he's got a load of opportunity. I mean, he left TNT to go there and take on the coaching and the challenge of coaching, and then he really had to do a great job of dealing with the personalities. I don't think there's any secrets out there. There's a lot of different ones there in Vancouver, and then plug them all together. And boy, every day that takes some energy with your coaching staff. But he's lucky. He's got a great coaching staff, and they're all in it together. So I think Talk's going to get out of this one, and I think it's going to be a close game tomorrow night. A close playoff style game.
Okay, I could see that with Darren Pang, and the reality is, you know, we're talking about all these tire fires around the league from a perspective of the 7 Canadian teams. They're all either in the playoffs or right there. You know, it's been a pretty positive season overall, Panger, where, you know, I don't think all 7 are going to get in. I think 5 will get in. I'm certain 4. I think 5. But that's pretty good, man. Like, you'll take that, right? If you're a Canadian hockey fan, the more Canadian teams that make the dance, the better.
See this? Dogs, these are notes. This is stats. See that?
There you go.
I see that, Darren. I see that. It's impressive.
Hang on. Let's see what we got right here. Okay. Yes. Ottawa close. Montreal. Ooh. Yeah. How about Montreal, by the way? They go into Chicago. It was a spirited game. Colton Dach plays against his brother in his first NHL game. He goes down, gets knocked down. His brother yells at him from the bench, saying, "Staying on your feet." So that's Kirby talking to Colton. And the Hawks win that one, and they go back not 24 hours later, and they beat Colorado 2-1. That was spirit right there. That was an excellent job. I think they've surprised a ton of people. Nobody had Montreal up there.
No.
Nobody had Columbus up there. Okay, so those are two teams that now, if you're Detroit, well, the Rangers, nobody had them down there. Buffalo, nobody had them down that far down at the bottom. No, there's no chance. You'd think there would be a climb right there. And then let me see on the other side of it, Calgary's. They put some points in the bank. That's the key right there.
They had a great start. They had a great start.
Yeah.
They're still just kind of hanging around. Like they've, you know, Calgary's been really good. Dustin Wolf's been outstanding for them.
Don't you feel like it might be a coin flip between Calgary and Vancouver? And I think Vancouver has the inside edge. That's the way I would see it.
Yeah, I would see that as well. Yeah, I would see that as well. Is Pettersson hurting and coming back, or is he, you know, I know the other two boys played banged up last night, you know. Yeah, the other two boys, though, played banged up. That one shift of JT Miller going to the bench, I mean, that wasn't an injury that just happened on that one hit from what I saw. That's something that's obviously, he looks like he's hanging by a thread.
That's right. That was a tough shift for him. He's fighting through it. He's playing, and now Pettersson. All eyes are on him. Like he's been a game time decision the last couple of games. He's got to get going.
He's got to pick it up. He's got to grab this. They need some help. This is when you got to grab it. And
absolutely,
a lot of people talking about moving one or the other, and moving. Pettersson's locked into that's the long-term deal, a long-term deal with a high cap right there. I think his best option is to support the guys that paid him all that money, went to bat for him. Because I'm sure that was a mixed group in the management side and the ownership side saying, we're throwing a lot of cash on this right here. And so now it's up to him to take this one over and grab it while these other 2 guys and 3 guys or how many more are banged up on that hockey club. These are the moments that you shine.
Big time.
These are the moments that you
but
bring
it
it to the
looks like
people.
that would barely ever cross his mind, Panger. I know everyone goes about things differently, but it looks like, you know, like really, like Talk seemed to have. We talked about Talk and Berube. They
Yeah.
seem to have a real sense of appreciation for being in the NHL every day they were in it. Like this guy,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just kind of like, meh. Like how many times we're in Canadian markets, and Panger, you're all over the NHL.
Yeah.
Have you heard somebody or a little blurb on TikTok or Twitter saying, "This is how hard Pettersson works at his craft"? You ever seen anything like that? I've never seen one thing like that. So
No,
this kid
in
needs
fact,
to-
I wish he, even last year after I did a lot of that the Nashville series, so I was close up, and I just kept thinking that same thing. Like, there's not a lot of power in his legs. There's not a lot. Everybody says he's got a really good shot, and I said, yes, I agree, he's got a really good shot, but I don't see him working on that really good shot. Like, I got a 19-year-old Connor Bedard here that people can, everybody's so critical and there's cynical people out there. That kid works on it every single day. He's the last guy off the ice, and when he misses a one-timer or a little shot going backhand, forehand over the bar, he's sour at himself. And
I just don't know what it
puts
means
the
to him,
work in.
Darren. Like you would think
Yeah.
that there would be one thing, like a picture surface saying this guy spent all summer with Gary Roberts or Matt Nickel, and he bulked up and he put on 20 pounds of muscle and he wants to be a force this year. Never see it. It's just like, we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yep.
It's up to him, man.
Yeah, well
Yeah, it
said.
is.
Well, he's got his money. He's got his deal. Now he's got to perform. And Pettersson
We are
and the
a
Canucks,
performance-based league.
it's generally the way it's supposed to work. Yeah, usually
Yep.
the way it's supposed to work.
And the other part about the league that I like is that you can do so many little things to endear yourself to your teammates. Just so many little things, whether it's to take a hit to make a play, a big shot block, something on the bench, somebody else does something, you go over to them and you grab them and you show some emotion. Those are all the little intangibles that are so important as well. And if it's not going on the other side, by scoring a goal or making a big play, there's other parts of the game that you can elevate. And that's what they need right now. They need some team cohesion and some chemistry, or they need to go out and really hit the Roxy for a night or two and let's get her going.
That could be it too. It's always an option as well.
I just like to get O-Dog smiling. O-Dog, you didn't even smile at that one right there.
I just been there so many times. It's old hat, Darren. Everyone talks about, you got to go to the Roxy. I'm like, God, I've been there so many times. I just
Since
shake my head
1980
when I hear that.
Since 1988 when it opened, I believe.
Yeah, it's just routine now. Thank you, Panger. Enjoy yourself tonight, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
There's Darren Pang joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Yeah,
Did you
Panger
guys,
in Detroit.
Did you guys see Macklin Celebrini's parents met at the Roxy? Did you see that whole?
Yeah, I did see that.
I don't
What a
know.
connection.
That's confirmed or...
Someone asked
Well,
him.
I mean,
Wasn't
it
it
was-
Scott Oak or something?
It was Scott Oak that
Yeah.
interviewed and confirmed it. So I don't think he's making that up. Like he let Macklin know about it because Macklin's like, I know they met at a bar. I didn't know it was called the Roxy. I didn't know it was the Roxy.
Wow.
Like that's old school.
What a
I
connection,
kind of love
man.
it.
That's love, man.
That's it. You stick together, leaving the Roxy. You were meant to be together.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So we'll see what comes of it tonight with Vancouver and Carolina, and again, then Vancouver flies up here, and they'll be playing the Leafs tomorrow night. So more on that later this afternoon. Mike Johnson coming up after 6. The Nail Gun will join us, and we're going to make some picks. All right, so we got to make picks for the 5 games. We'll hold the Monday nighter off until Monday. We got to sneak in some totals too, right? For extra points, we'll lay out the whole point system throughout the playoffs. Owen Willson looking to redeem themselves versus Hayes and Bro. My partner's on a cruise somewhere. Luke is surfing somewhere in BC. These guys completely mailing it in, but that's fine. We're the captains of each team. We're here. We're responsible. We'll make the picks.
Dude,
That's
I'm
how
not
we
going to go
operate.
down on this one, I'll tell you that. I have a detailed note,
Okay.
and I talked with my partsy, and he makes the calls, and I agree or disagree. And I got to trust him, man. I told him, I
right.
said, Partsy, this is where you shine. You understand that, right? I said, this is where they turn to blow-ups, and this is where we shine. And
Okay.
he said, I got you, bro.
Let's see what you got.
right.
Let's see what we got. We'll get to our picks. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Melody Friday brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This January at BP, get delicious, mouth-watering pastas starting at $11.99 every single day. Enjoy the pastas you love at prices you can't miss. Hustle into your local BP tonight. All right, we've got Mike Johnson coming up later this afternoon. Dear Hazy B. Sounds like Luke Wilson's got some sort of message he wants out into the world. So Luke's got something planned. We'll play that. We'll get to our picks. My partner, I have no idea what he's doing.
So you didn't even contact. I just have to mention that Joe from the Bridge. I just want to bring this up quickly. Thanks for letting us all know this, Joe from the Bridge, but there's something in quotations that bothers me. He wrote in our group text for work, he said, "Not that I need to, but can confirm the O-Dog was never a -6." And then he writes, he was a career worst -3 in quotations several times. Like I
don't know
amongst
if you needed
friends,
it several times.
you don't need it. You don't need it. You could have just said one. He was -3. That's his worst.
It is unnecessary, really, to add anything else to that. Just
several times.
Several times.
Like, we're talking, it got scary. Like, are you a record holder for the most in the history of the NHL -3 in a night?
I'll tell you what. I came close to the top of the Mike Commodore green jacket. I was -24 one year. And
that's a big number.
That's Kapalua, man. That's Hideki in Hawaii.
Dude, there's guys that are -27 right now.
That's valid
right
too.
now.
Do you see Decky he didn't almost kill somebody, but he threw his club and hit somebody yesterday?
He felt so bad, Decky. But -24 guys, it seems like every time you go on the ice, you're getting scored. Like, it seems like what it feels like. Here's Decky.
Hey, Decky trying to get somebody.
Hold on to your club, Decky.
Dude, he birdied the hole. It's not that bad of a shot.
No, it's totally fine and inbounds. Anyway, all right, Mike Johnson coming up. We'll ask Johnny how many times he was -3, and if it was several times throughout his career, if he ever touched up on -5, -6. But here's our good friend, our TSN football insider, Dave Naylor. Nail Gun, I'll ask you about the All-Pro. I'm sure you saw that today, that Lamar Jackson, first-team All-Pro at the quarterback position. That would indicate Lamar is about to win his 3rd MVP. Do you see it that way? And if so, how would you expect Josh Allen to respond to that?
Look, I'm biased because I watch Josh Allen every week, and I saw Lamar Jackson in person once this year. I watched him a bunch of times on television, but and I think part of this, and I think some of the thinking for people in Buffalo is, say, you have seasons where it could have been Josh, and they went another way. And this is certainly a season where it could be Josh. And some of it is numbers, and some of it is more than numbers. I think sometimes just judging quarterbacks, because you can't see every game, by numbers, can be kind of foolhardy. You got to look at situationally what a guy does, and that's the Josh Allen factor to me. Like, I think if Josh Allen wanted to play the way he probably loved to play in his dreams, he could put up numbers that would be insane, but he just throws it into that gear kind of once or twice a game, right? And the rest of, and that's part of, I think, the maturation we've seen is that Josh Allen doesn't do the things Josh Allen is known for all the time anymore because there's some risk involved, right? He's learned to be a more conservative quarterback, which doesn't necessarily enhance the numbers, but it enhances the efficiency. Speaking of efficiency, by the way, O-Dog, -24. Do you know who's +24?
Who?
The Bills in turnover ratio.
I love it. What a segue.
Number one
Naylor,
in the NFL.
Naylor, I first want to thank you, before I get to my question, for putting some kind of positive spin on that, unlike Joe from the Bridge, who wrote, this guy was -3, and then in quotations he wrote, several times he was. Like, you didn't need to write that. But at what point, Naylor, you're saying, is the MVP gone? It's Lamar's? Like, what did Lamar do? What specific thing? And I know about the throwing yards, the rushing yards, but when did it turn for you, or your opinion, where it's like, now he's got it?
I think it really kind of turned these last few weeks. Like, it felt like a month ago, coming off the Detroit game, that it was going to be Josh Allen. And then there were a few people prominent in the media who popped up and said, actually, I'm going to stake my claim with Lamar Jackson. And then you had, I think, the Bills' end of season. I mean, it's funny how this thing becomes. It becomes like a week-to-week thing. But I think the Bills' schedule at the end of the season really didn't necessarily do Allen any favors in that regard, because they played New England twice. One that Allen took one snap and left the field, and the other two, the other game against New England and the one against the Jets. I mean, I don't think they were. In fact, Allen even said it after the New England game. He said, "We're walking we're towing a fine line here. Yes, we want to get as high seeded as possible, but since we clinched the playoffs, we're not really going in showing the whole playbook because they had so many games that weren't meaningless, but they were games that they could win without showing their whole hand." And Allen said it after the New England game, and it got a lot of attention because it was a pretty transparent comment. So I think that's the other factor that came into this a little bit. Buffalo wasn't really being pushed beyond the Detroit game in the way that they were earlier in the season, and Allen didn't have any wow performances in those last few games or those last couple of games where Jackson kept pushing.
Yeah, and it does, I think, beg the question, like, if Allen's not going to win an MVP this year, will he ever win one? He'll be in the running every year because he's so great, but I thought it was his to lose. I think he should win it. Again, it's not confirmed yet. It's just history would suggest whoever ends up with that first-team All-Pro ends up the MVP, and Lamar Jackson was voted as the first-team All-Pro quarterback, which would be 3 in his career, which is remarkable. I mean, Lamar Jackson is a remarkable player. But Josh Allen, when you consider how many points they put up this year, who they beat the Lions and the Chiefs. What he did with less in terms of other firepower in the offense, completely revitalizing his game in terms of turnovers, all of that screams MVP. Yet if it's not going to happen for him, he may not get it again in the future because next year it might be Lamar again or Mahomes or Burrow or, who knows who it's going to be. I guess what it does now, Gunn, is it emphasizes the importance of him winning a Super Bowl now, right? Like, you got to get a Super Bowl.
You've tripped over the 2 fears of Buffalo Bills fans, right? Like, late at night, their greatest fears that the Josh Allen era will come and go without him winning an MVP and without the Bills winning the Super Bowl. And I think that's already in the water on the Super Bowl stuff, right? Like, Josh Allen's first season was 2018. This is his age 28 season. They've been good enough before. They certainly, the Bills have had teams that have been capable of it. They just haven't got it done. And that every year that passes, it's kind of like, we're not near the end of the Josh Allen window, but we're right in the middle of it. And, that is part of it. You mentioned the turnovers. I think that's certainly the big evolution in Josh Allen. And, the Bills are part of the reason they're plus 24 is they took the ball away 32 times this year and only gave it back 8. I mean, 8. And look, there's a bit of a myth about Josh Allen and turnovers, at least where it comes to playoff performance. That hasn't been his issue in the playoffs, but it has been certainly in the regular season. And I think that's a legit concern that Allen may never ever win an MVP. And again, it's a very tough award to win. And you've got a guy like Mahomes who's had a down year that, it's funny, he was still the betting favorite till about the midseason because people just figured he was going to throw it into gear at some point, but he never really did, never really had to. But it's, look, I think the fascinating matchup, and I think we're going to get it, is 2 weeks or a week from now, where you're going to get Baltimore rolling into Buffalo. With that kind of debate hanging in the air.
I don't know, Naylor. You just writing off the Steelers like that, are we?
I will be surprised if the Bills don't win. I will be stunned if Baltimore doesn't win, even without Zay Flowers. That one I think is I'm big on the Baltimore thing there. Baltimore's my Super Bowl pick right now. Tell you the truth.
Oh wow,
there you go.
That's where I was going to go, Nail Gun. Is there any upsets that you think maybe around the corner? Like, I don't know, would Green Bay sniff? I know Hayes would love to hear if Green Bay has a chance.
I mean,
Philly.
Green Bay's the one that I think could be, because I still think they're a team that, because they're young, they're still getting better. I mean, they went in ideal conditions and played Detroit. Now, Detroit was ravaged on defense that game, but they were a play away from the Lions at Detroit. In an extremely meaningful game for both teams. That's the one that I think, if you're looking for an underdog that could pull the trick this weekend, that's the one that would grab my attention. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, listen, Philly's got high expectations though too. Like, that should be a really good ball game. There's a few different games, like even the Rams Vikings. I think those are 2 good teams. I want to
see how the Vikings recover, like, psychologically from what they did in Detroit.
Right.
I mean, you think of that, guys. Like, think of the road that they chose for themselves by the way they played. Like, going on the road, and having to go back to Detroit eventually and play, as opposed to be in the first seed. You're two home games in perfect conditions away from being in the Super Bowl. And I still can't get over. There's a stat from that game that just still I can't get out of my head, that they threw the ball 23 times at Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson, and they completed 6.
Wow. That's tough to do. That's credit the Lions, but it's also like
you got to look at the quality of throws, possibly.
Yeah,
If
what's
that's the
up,
case.
Sammy? Like, smarten up, man.
In
You
an indoor
get going.
game, if it had been outdoors, maybe, but like ideal conditions, 6 of 23.
That's right.
To those 3 guys, amazing.
Well, we'll see what comes of it this weekend. Enjoy it tomorrow, Nail Gun. Enjoy it Sunday down in Buffalo. Appreciate you doing this, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. And there's minus 3. Was that how many times?
Several.
Okay.
The way I'm looking at it now, Naylor, I'm just like I was happy to play in the NHL. I had a cup of coffee. I guess.
Positive look on life. Look at this guy. I love it, Mr. Rogers over here.
Yeah.
All right.
Says
There you go.
the 40-goal scorer. Sure. All right.
That's
Besides
right.
that. Thank you, Dave.
Take care, guys. See ya.
Dave Naylor joining us here. And don't forget, every incredible playoff moment on TSN is powered by Bud Light, a refreshing taste that's easy to enjoy. Tune in game day for pulse-pounding action. Yeah. You made it. You guys made it. A goalie and a guy, both in the NHL.
Yeah,
That's all
goalie
that matters,
and a
man.
guy.
Goalie
And
and
a
a
We
guy.
got to
genius.
work with a genius.
Yeah, genius, the goalie and the guy. That could be a new name for this show. I could get down with that. I could support that.
If we had those 3 names, how do you lay it out? A goalie, a guy, and a genius. Or a genius, a goalie, and a guy.
No, I think we just do a segment. Are you smarter than the genius? We got to come up with something. Can
Gotta
you
have
stump
something.
the genius?
The big
It's like
voice
at a
guy.
carnival.
The
You gotta
big
go.
voice guy to come up with something. All right, Mike Johnson coming up, and Owen Willson versus Hayes and Bro begins next, where we're going to make picks. 5 games. We'll save the Monday Nighter for Monday. Hayes and Bro, we're on the clock. We get to tell you which games we're going to pick. And then we got to throw the totals out, too, because if you get the spread right, that's 2 points. That affords you the
You mean
opportunity.
over or under, correct?
Over-under, yes, the total over-under. So we'll
Okay.
get to those as well. And I guess we have some commentary from Luke Willson. I wish I could say the same thing about my partner, but he's asleep in a casino on a boat somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, go time in the NFL. Wildcard weekend. Hayes and Bro obviously had a phenomenal season. I can't say the same for Owen Willson. I mean, Team Owen Willson, very similar to the Bruins, the Rangers, the Canucks. That's kind of the category you guys were in. A lot of dysfunction.
Dude, it was an ultimate choke job. It was the Leafs up 3-1 against the Habs.
Yeah, it
It
was.
was
You
a
guys
choke
had us,
job.
man.
We
It was
were
over.
+9 against 2 turkeys. And we not only did we lose, I think we lost +6.
7. Dude.
Or
You lost by
minus-
a touchdown.
Yeah.
We
So
were
at
we were
one
up
point
7.
to be +9 and go -7.
Yeah,
that's
it's crazy.
That was the Leafs last night in Carolina, just humming along and get destroyed.
2 genius turkeys, right? 2 genius turkeys, because my partner's a genius as well, and I have been in contact with him. Al's brother will be back next week. He's on his 15th cruise of the calendar year. Luke was in BC for the week. He's flying back. So my understanding is Luke has some sort of statement. All right, he has issued a statement that he wants the masses to hear. You guys ready for this?
Go for it.
This is a quick message to Hayes and Bro. I'm in the airport. I'm coming back from my ayahuasca retreat. I'm seeing the board clearly, but what's shocking to me, is that you guys gave us the Pack Eagles. If you were a real football guy, you would have a heartbeat on your own team, be able to figure out whether they're going to cover this game or not. But instead, you're a fraud. Your partner's a scumbag. And Team Owen Wilson's going to win this playoffs with ease, baby. Can't wait.
All right, so greasy.
That is a leader, man. That's a leader.
That's not exactly Brad Marchand stuff.
Dude, that's my
pointing
Harbaugh.
fingers.
That's Luke Harbaugh.
Luke Harbaugh. Well, what's greasy about that is we have the opportunity to pick which 3 games we want to play. Now, if these 2 idiots were actually here today doing their jobs, we would actually get to burn you live, and you'd have to pick on the fly. But because Al's brother's on a cruise and Luke is on an ayahuasca retreat, we had to reveal the games we're going to play. So you guys know you're going to play Green Bay Philly. I'm going to tell you which games we're going to play. We're on Chargers Houston, we're on Bucks Washington, and we're going to be on the Monday Nighter Rams Vikings. Those are our 3
Dude,
games.
I got to just say I have no idea why you wanted Chargers Houston. Like, I have no idea what
Well,
he
let's
wants.
that's a
get
coin
started.
flip or what?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. We're laying the points. We're on LA. We're taking the Chargers.
Wow.
We're laying the points. Jim Harbaugh, Luke Harbaugh. Luke Harbaugh's a fraud. He's a nobody. Jim Harbaugh's the real deal. Holyfield. The Chargers are coming in hot. Houston's been fraudulent all year. We think the Chargers go in there. Not only do they win, they cover this number. The numbers
what if
fluctuate
C.J.
a little
Stroud
bit.
turns into C.J. Stroud of last year?
He's
I
been
think
brutal
you've
this
seen
year.
Justin
Yeah.
Herbert, dude, in pressure situations choke
I
time
understand
and
that.
time again.
Admittedly concerned of
Dude,
the
that
history of the
guy was your
Chargers.
whipping boy for the last 2
Not
years,
anymore.
and what? All of a sudden, you love him now?
Jim Harbaugh, I love the way they run the run game there, the line of scrimmage, that front seven. I love everything about the Chargers going into Houston. We're on LA Chargers laying 3, and as for the total, it's 42.5 on FanDuel. We're on the under. All right, I could see this 21-16, 23-16. Chargers and the under. First pick. That's where we're at. All right, so now you guys are going to have to run off the next 3 games because we will go in chronological order here. You're on the clock. Denver, Buffalo on FanDuel. Bills are -8.5. The total is 47.5. Do you like the Bills or the Broncos, and are you going over or under the number?
It's a tough.
As my partner said when he texts me something, he said, "You're going to hate me for this, but I
knew
think
it.
Dude, what are you talking
You're
about?
taking
man?
the Broncos. You're going to take the
Yeah,
points.
we are. We
Yeah,
are.
of course.
We are
Wow.
taking the Broncos.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, and you want me to read what he wrote
Yeah,
about this
please
matchup?
do. Let's see where you're at. Look at you.
Starts out. I'm reading this because I kind of think it's insane myself.
Okay.
But the guy played in the league. I defer to him all the time.
All right.
You have to.
Sure.
The guy's an NFL stud.
Yeah, and you're just a
You're
guy.
going to hate me for this, but I think the
just
correct
a
pick
guy.
is the Broncos. This team started 0-2 with a rookie QB, ended 10-5 from there. Should have beat KC too if it wasn't for the field goal block. These teams' defense is absolutely
They're
legit.
good. They are good.
They will stop Buffalo's run game. Josh will make plays. Sean Payton will figure out a way to make it a battle. I like this 26-20 Bills.
Okay, so that would suggest you're on the Broncos and the under. All right, Broncos and the under.
Broncos in the under. I know you hate
Wow.
that. I can tell.
You know what? A lot of our picking was I knew what Luke was going to do. Like, this is a chess
Really?
game. I'm like, I'm going to give you that. Bo Nix, do you know how tough it is to be a rookie in the NFL, to go on the road in the playoffs in a zoo like Buffalo? This guy's going to
Dude,
be
it's not
busing
the
in there.
70s or 80s.
Yes,
These
it
guys
is.
don't
Dude,
care about
in
that
town
stuff
it is.
anymore.
It
They'll
is
be
gritty
Jack
there.
Armstrong will be jumping off tables.
Yeah,
this guy
it
Bo
will be.
Nix is going to be walking into that stadium or
Dude,
driving
I'll do
in
a
on
side
that bus.
500. I'll do a side 500 on every one of these picks.
Done. You got it.
Done.
You got it, man. Lock it in. All right. So you're
Lock
you're
it
on
in.
the,
Not
you're on
even
the
shake.
Broncos
Actually, you
and
know
the
what?
under.
I got to
Yeah, you
shake
gotta
your
do the
hand
shake. You
for
gotta do the
legitimacy.
All right.
But
Done.
we're on.
You got it. All right, Packers, Eagles. All right, Luke's talking a big game. I'll admit, gutless. I didn't want anything to do with this because I have a feeling. I can tell you if I had to pick it, I know where I'd go. Eagles -4.5. The total is 45.5. Who are you taking on the spread, and are you going with the over or the under?
We're taking the over, and I'm going to read this all bleeping day, and
Okay.
we're taking the pack. We're taking the pack.
Okay.
I personally think the Eagles, I don't like the pack, man. I don't know what it is about the pack. I hate them.
They haven't been playing well. They
No,
have not
I
been
don't like
playing
them,
well.
man. I think of...
Why, you don't think Jordan Love can
You
get it
hate
done?
your picks. I love watching
Yeah.
this.
I know.
This is
I hate
absurd
Jordan
to
Love,
listen
and
to
I
this
hate
guy.
my
You're-
picks. I'm
You're
not
like a
gonna lie, yeah.
hostage. You're reading a hostage
Yeah.
note.
Yes,
You are.
yes.
Okay.
I'm having a good time. I'm okay.
Yeah,
They're not
blinking
hurting
twice.
me.
Please blink twice, dog, if we need you to be rescued.
Yeah.
All right, so you're taking the Packers, and what are you on? You said you're on the over or the under?
Over
45.5.
all bleeping day is what I got.
All right.
Over all bleeping day.
Packers and the over. Okay, Pittsburgh Ravens. I missed that game. My bad. You guys are on this game too. Ravens -9.5. Totals 43.5.
You know my boy likes Tomlin, right? And you know he's 8-3 against Lamar, right? So what
Yes.
do you think we're doing?
You're taking the points in the Steelers.
Yeah. So we're taking the over, and we're taking the Steel Town Steelers, baby.
Oh man, you're taking all.
I don't
three
know if I
dogs.
like that either. I got to be honest, man.
All
This
right.
guy's
It
he's the
takes stones
GM.
to
he's
take
the C-
underdogs. I mean, these are a lot of points. These are a lot of points, right? Like the Ravens laying 9.5, the Bills laying 8.5, even the Eagles 4.5. Green Bay's a good team. They're a really good team.
Did you give Tomlin 9.5? I kind of like that.
Listen, I honestly, my partner and I went back and forth on that, and I didn't want to play the game because we didn't see it the same way. He was kind of thinking Ravens, and I was leaning Steelers. In the division, third time in the season, you get 9.5. I think the Steelers are a pretty good play. The Bills, I feel like they may blow the doors off Denver. I really.
That's
and
a lot.
I don't love the way
Which
Green Bay's playing.
Which one out of all these games is the biggest lock, you think?
Well, I'm not sure there is one. I'll say this: our last game before the Monday Nighter, we're on the Bucs and the Commanders. We're laying the points. We're taking Tampa. I think, again, rookie quarterback. Washington's played really well down the stretch.
That's another game. I don't know why you would want that. That's a mishmash. And
I like Baker Mayfield, man. I like the way Baker's playing. I like the way that defense is set up, too. I think they play well.
Baker Mayfield had a good start against Philly last year. And do you know what happened when he went to Detroit?
That's fine. That was in Detroit, dude. This is in Tampa, man. He's at home.
Well, what happened when they got to Detroit? They got
squashed.
Exactly. But Dan Quinn in his backwards hat, they had a good season. We're on the Bucs, laying 3, and we're on the under. The total's 50.5. Again, I think Jaden Daniels, that offense, I think they're going to ease into the game. I think they're going to have some struggles on the road. It's different come playoff time, man. You get under the bright lights. We're laying the points. We're on the Bucs. So we're on 2 favorites. We like the Bucs and the Chargers, and you guys are all dogs at this point. You're on the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Packers. Which means we are going to take the Vikings-Rams game on Monday night. You got to wait for our pick. We'll see what the line says between now and Monday.
Just kind of going over this quickly. I think there's a chance Buffalo absolutely smashes Denver.
Listen. Peyton's a really good coach.
You know when Jacksonville went out there and you guys were so stupid you took Jacksonville, and I got a feeling that just they could get squashed.
I think Josh Allen now, he's getting burned
Bo
for the
Nix
MVP.
is my guy, man. He's my guy,
All
Bo
right,
Nix.
man. Listen, I really like where we're at. I got to be honest, and it's more so about the picks you guys made. I like where we're at. I'm going to text my partsy in the break, and we're going to be absolutely on fire going into hour 3. Mike Johnson and Dear Hazy B coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.